Hey guys, what's up? This is jgponnou. In this video, we're going to talk a little to the beginners in the Bitcoin and altcoin industry. This is for those of you who are sitting on the fence wondering whether it is safe to invest, legal to invest, and so on. Maybe you have a lot of questions, and it shall be my endeavor to try to answer some of those very common questions in this video. All right, things like what is Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin legal? Is it sustainable? Right, or is it too late to invest in Bitcoin? Could we understand the alt currency playing field a little better so that you can then make a qualified decision as to where and how to invest, how to safeguard yourself from potential scams, and a few cautionary notes, right? So, with that, let's proceed. So, what is Bitcoin, right? And the best way to answer that, I think, would be to take you through what the media says about it, okay? So, here is a dictionary definition of what is Bitcoin. And as it says here, it's a type of digital currency in which encryption techniques are used to regulate the generation of units of currency and verify the transfer of funds operating independently of a central bank. It also says here bitcoins can be used for online transactions between individuals. Okay? Wikipedia says Bitcoin is a worldwide cryptocurrency and a digital payment system called the first decentralized digital currency. Since the system works without a central repository or a single administrator, it's a peer-to-peer system. Transactions take place between users directly without an intermediary. Okay. And again, open source P2P says Bitcoin is an innovative payment network and a new kind of money, right? Coindesk says Bitcoin is a form of digital currency created and held electronically. No one controls it, right? Of course, Bitcoins are not printed like dollars or euros. Now, here is something that I would like to draw your attention and emphasize upon. Now, some of these terminologies could be confusing. They could be scary. They could be misleading, right? Things like operating independently of a central bank, decentralized digital currency without an intermediary. No one controls it. Now, a lot of people, when they hear such terminologies, it, at the initial look of it gives an impression that, hey, that means this is illegal, right? Well, not so. I have a different perspective of that, which let me, share it with you. I'd like to share it with you. Now, in my opinion, governments do have an absolute control over Bitcoin and other alt currencies, which means that a government can indeed allow or ban the use of such currencies in the local country, right? They can allow or disallow merchants to be accepting this, large merchants to be accepting this, for their various transactions. They could be deciding whether there'll be a taxation on that or not. I do believe that eventually central banks will also come in with the regulations and laws on the know your customer requirements for this kind of, digital currency or Bitcoin alt currency kind of transactions. So there's no doubt that eventually governments will be a very big part of this. Central bank will be a very big part of this. In my opinion, what these terminologies mean is this: a government or a central bank does not own or does not control how or how much bitcoins will be produced. What will be the valuation of that? How and where it will be stored? Okay, what are the ways in which it can be used, right? They cannot say, let's print more or let us demonetize, for example, right? These kind of things are what are not controlled. These are the things that are decentralized. These are the things that are independent of a central bank. These are the things that happen without an intermediary. Like, for example, a charge between a peer-to-peer transaction. How much should you charge about it? There's no intermediary. Okay, so that can be as low as that, right? When it says no one controls it, I would read it as no one single person or no one single entity controls it. Okay, because Bitcoin is not a building, it's not a single company, it's not a single computer or server which can be shut down by somebody at a particular time, right? This is spread out through a very, very huge network across millions of computers. Therefore, there's nothing like shutting it down with one click or one law or whatever it is, right? People are investing in this across the world. So there's nothing that stops from being used eventually for peer-to-peer transactions. Okay, so I hope it clarifies this, that yes, it is decentralized. Yes, it is not controlled as of now by various governments and central banks. But eventually, even if that happens, that's something good. Okay, there are only specific things that will never be controlled by them as to how much should be made, what should be the value of that, and so on and so forth. That is the beauty of this very system, and we need to get to appreciate that right away. And I hope I've done a reasonable job in making you understand that. Okay. Now, is Bitcoin legal? A phenomenal question. Unfortunately, something that made me sit on the fence for years and lose a lot of money on the table. Yeah, because if I had picked it up, if I had picked up a Bitcoin, 1 year before I did, 2 years before I did, obviously I would have much, much more money today, as we have been seeing the phenomenal role of Bitcoin. However, let's again see what the media says about it. Now, here is an article which says, Japan has eliminated tax on Bitcoin as of July 3rd, 2017. So that's a phenomenal move, right? So people can use Bitcoin and there's no taxation on that. More than 260,000 merchants, stores in Japan are accepting Bitcoins. Now that's a huge thing, okay? It's very clear that over there it's 100% legal over there. Now in India, which is a phenomenal and large market for inward remittances, you can read here that one of the leading Indian banks, which is ICICI here, has adopted Bitcoin digital currency. It's executed its first banking transactions on a blockchain with digital currency and so on. So that's great news. But this is a very interesting thing. Bitcoin spikes with North Korea tensions. Digital gold, which is Bitcoin, holds up. Okay, but this is really interesting because usually what happens is when there is tensions, when there is economic recessions and so on and so forth, most commodities or even currencies such as the US dollars or euro, GBP, yen, Indian rupee, whatever you have, do tend to fluctuate and drop. They fall down, usually dramatically, drastically, hugely. But what we saw when the North Korea tensions were climbing is that Bitcoin was spiking, it was going up, which is a phenomenal thing to note and understand. Okay, well, here's a very interesting article from on the point of the legal status of Bitcoin in the United Arab Emirates, and I would like to focus on this part here, so let me just blow it up a little. Here it says provisions D.7.3 for virtual currencies, okay, and in that it says these are prohibited. So it explains on its very terms, the statement was open to one possible interpretation as banning Bitcoin and all other cryptocurrencies in UAE. However, there's a point, okay. Now, on 1st February 2017, the governor of UAE Central Bank issued a statement to Gulf News saying that these regulations do not cover virtual currency and these regulations do not apply to Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, currency exchanges or underlying technology such as blockchain, right? Those are under review, as it says here, okay? So, yes, governments, central banks, the regulatory bodies are very well aware of this. They are in the thick and thin of it. They want good things to happen, and things are under review. Now, here's something very interesting also. Now, the news from the region's leading newspaper agency, Gulf News, says that there is a property which is being launched or is launched where people can pay with Bitcoin and own property in Dubai. How awesome was that, right? Absolutely awesome. So it just shows that the acceptance is growing day by day as we pass along, and this is something that is going to stay for years to come. All right. Now, here's the news, not very new. It's from 2015, where Bitcoin was classified as a commodity in the US, okay, along with gold and oil, which means that just like you buy gold and oil, you can also buy Bitcoin and trade in that, just like any other commodity, right? If I've left a link here, so if you would like to pause the video and just click on this and link it to the original CNBC site where this video is there, and you can watch it. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'll carry on and not play the video here, but it is there for you to watch if you wish to. Now, so who is saying nice things? Who's backing Bitcoin? Who says Bitcoin is there to stay? And so on and so forth. So as you can see, Sir Richard Branson, Bill Gates, and so many others. Everybody is either investing in Bitcoins or even investing in huge companies that are mining Bitcoins. All right. Now, so that brings another question. Is this a bubble? Is this sustainable? Well, bubble is something that a lot of people have always talked about when any new opportunity comes, whether it was real estate. For that matter, when internet came, nobody really thought that it would become so much of, a vital thing in our lives, right? When the real estate came and countries were having real estate booms, people said it's a bubble, it will not sustain, it will fall down and so forth. But let's look at some facts and figures. Now, if you go to the coin market cap, we see that the cryptocurrency market, as of this day, the market cap is more than $164 billion, my friend. And the last 24 hours volume is almost $6 billion. I've seen this going to $8 billion and more, and so on and so forth. But the Bitcoin dominance being 46.6%. So if you look at this $164 billion, it means that the particular industry, the particular niche we're talking about is got a market cap, okay, of $164 billion plus. Okay, that is something huge. This is nothing that is there for a day or two. This is absolutely sustainable, and this is really going to stay for a very long time, okay? Which brings us to the question, so is it too late to invest in Bitcoin? Well, in a way, I reckon it is a bit late to invest in Bitcoin. And when I say, what do I mean by that? You know what? Like I said, I was sitting on the fence for a long time, wondering whether I should be investing something into it. Is it legal? Is it not? Is it sustainable? All the same questions I asked, which is what I'm showing up here because I assume some of you might be asking the same questions, right? What happened really is I did know about Bitcoin way back in 2010, okay, where it was less than $1 a Bitcoin. I knew about it. I was following Bitcoin when it was $100, when it was $700, $1,000, $2,000, and today, as I record, it has cost $4,700, right? So going by that count, yes, in a way, it is late. I could have invested when it was $1, when it was $100, when it was $700, and so on and so forth. But on the same count, if you ask this question tomorrow, yes, it would be too late because you could have invested today. If you look back after a year and say, is it too late? Yes, it would be too late as compared to today. So yes, if you had invested in the past, it would have been better, but the next best time to invest in Bitcoin is today. All right. Now, let's look at the way Bitcoin has scaled over the years. Okay. Now, somewhere in late 2016, early 2017, Bitcoin surged to $1,000. Okay, from literally being maybe 700 in September 2016, a few years back to $100 and so on. So, but let's start here. Practically looking at it, just about less than a year back, it was $1,000, and now it was predicted that by 2017 end, Bitcoin will reach $5,000, which is absolutely true because we are just in September beginning now, and it's already crossed 4,600, is hitting 4,700, and so on, right? So now here is what another chart is there to show you, right? Now, for example, today's, as we record, with the date is 31st of August 2017, one Bitcoin's value is $4,739.33, right? Now, if you look at it from this chart, the earliest period that I'm showing here is February 2015. One Bitcoin was $235, right? See the raise, okay? Which means that if in February 2015 you had invested $235 and bought one Bitcoin, today it could be worth $4,739 for you, right? I know some of you sitting there are probably looking at the downward, drops. These things happen. Yeah, of course they do happen, like in any stock market, right? And I'm sure from this also, it will probably go up, it will come down. There'll be always those ups and downs in any particular stock market or commodity or currency or whatever it is. But here's something for you to look at, okay? This is an article from CNBC where the article says that the Bitcoin price could hit $100,000 in 10 years, okay? You can always go and look at these links. This is as for 31st May 2017. And this means that if you had again invested just $235 and picked up one Bitcoin in February 2015, today it could be worth $4,739. And in 10 years, this $235 one-time investment could have earned you, could bring you $100,000. Okay, my friend, there are a lot of economists, there are a lot of subject matter experts who also predict that in the same 10 years, one Bitcoin could be worth $500,000, $1 million, right? It's up to you to take whichever prediction or forecasting you would like to take. But even $100,000 is no mean value, right? I really see this as potentially the only way where a common man, a normal salaried person, could invest something, if not in one shot, over a period of time, to own one Bitcoin and really eventually become, somebody who's having a pile of money to sit on, which in my opinion, no job, no savings is going to be able to give back in this amount. So one Bitcoin, again, to repeat, could be worth $100,000 in 10 years, $500,000 in 10 years, $1 million in 10 years. So, and here's another article which came in the Forbes, where this author says, could Bitcoin be worth $619,047 in 10 years, right, in the same period? So there are different versions of that, and like I said, it's up to you to look at which prediction you want to go. But even if it is, $500,000 or even $100,000, that's the mean amount for just one Bitcoin, and you could be building up your portfolio a lot more if you start working on it today. Okay. Now he does give you the reasons as to why and what are the basis of his predictions on this. I'll leave it to you to pause and read it if you wish to. He also acknowledges that the volatility is high but not for long, and again the reasons on that, so forth, right? So we are really looking at something that's really credible and amazingly interesting as we talk about it. Okay, let's understand a little bit about the alt currency playing field. Okay, now you have the various cryptocurrencies, the alt currencies, the Bitcoin and else, and you have the exchanges and the custodian areas where you can buy and trade, or you can buy and hold the various cryptocurrencies, and also the kind of wallets where you will be storing them. Okay, now in this Bitcoin or altcoin industry, the hardware is a lot important because the mining difficulty has been increasing phenomenally over the years, and therefore it requires a lot of hardware investments to be doing that. So there's a hardware set of companies, and then the software companies come in, where you have the blockchain and the block trade and so on and so forth. And finally, the mining area, where also there are some quite a few players actually, but relatively, because of the heavy equipment costs and key skill sets required, you have much lesser companies in this block, and therefore, if you have an opportunity to get into that, that's definitely a phenomenal opportunity. However, to my knowledge, it requires a lot of resources, a lot of money actually, on an ongoing basis, right? So that's not easy for everybody to come into and do that, apart from the skill set that you will require. However, if you do find a legitimate opportunity where you could have some kind of a crowdfunding opportunity where you could invest small amounts in these mining companies and have long-term benefits over there, then that's a good option that you might want to consider. All right. Now, equipment growth, like I mentioned, has really been growing year over year, and is expected to keep on growing in terms of the resources available because of the difficulty matrix. Okay, this is a good one to understand why mining is explosive. Now look at this. Every 4 years, the amount of coins mined will reduce, making each coin worth more. Okay, so let me explain that. When Bitcoin was launched in year 1, okay, for the first 4 years, for every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoins were produced, okay, were mined, okay. And now in the next 4 years, it became half, which means that in every 10 minutes, 25 Bitcoins were being mined, okay. Now, as we speak, we are in 2017, and we are in the next block of the next 4 years, and currently only 12.5 Bitcoins are being mined for every 10 minutes, right? When we cross this particular 4 years block, it's going to drop down to 6.25, which is half of this, every 10 minutes, and so on. So for every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin, the quantity of Bitcoin that will be created will be dropping down by half for every 10 minutes, and therefore, which basically talks about the demand and supply, right? So demand is going to continually increase, adaptability is going to increase, more and more people are going to start using Bitcoin, but the availability is going to reduce and eventually stop, by the year 2140, it's going to stop at 21 million Bitcoins, which is hardwired in the protocol, okay? So no more and no less, which means that as more and more people start using it, if you hold a few Bitcoins by that time, that's going to be a lot worth of money, and you're going to be a very happy person, actually. Yeah, right. So here are a few tips to safeguard yourself from potential scams. Now, blockchain, by the way, blockchain is not something that is only for Bitcoin, okay? This is a technology, this is a platform that is being acknowledged and starting applications and usages in various industries, including real estate, supply chain management, and so on, right? But for this purpose, you can go to blockchain.info, okay? And on this page, if you look at the hash rate distribution, as it says here, it shows an estimation of hash rate distribution among the largest mining pools, okay? So you see names like Antpool or BTC.top, BTC.com, Bitfury, BitClub Network, and so on and so forth. Quite a few players. This is not the end of it. You could have a full list as you click down further. Now, it also gives you the latest blocks. For example, in the last few minutes or in the last few hours, which are the players who have sort of unblocked, so to say. Okay, and how much. It also is very transparent for any player that is there. It's very transparent, so you could always go and see what is the mining activity that has happened today, yesterday, or a period of a year, whatever it is, right? And it also gives you the details of transactions per day, the market cap as on that day, and so on and so forth. So this is if you find the company that you want to invest your hard-earned money into in the blockchain, then that's a safe bet. Now, I'm probably talking more about there are it's not about buying or trading or holding the alt currencies. Now, the reason I mention this is there are quite a few companies which have taken advantage of this enormous growth industry and created models around you where you could refer people and earn money out of that. Okay, call it direct selling, referral marketing, multi-level marketing, whatever it is. There are legal opportunities by all means. I'm a great favorite of that. However, unfortunately, there are also illegal or scammy programs out there as usual, which tend to mislead people from there. A good way for you to check is whether the company that they're talking about is present here in the blockchain. Okay. Another way to do that is also to go to the coin market cap and verify whether the product or the brand or the coin that you're talking about is listed over here. Okay. Now, this is just a snapshot of the first page, so you can always scroll down further, and even otherwise, you could click the next 100 and keep seeing all the names over there. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list or a means to identify good companies versus scammy companies, but this is one of the things that you could use to do that further. All I would say is, if you do not find the name of your company where you want to invest, in blockchain, for example, or in CoinMarketCap, do a little more due diligence, okay? Take care a little more before you put in your hard-earned money. So that's the idea of telling you a few tips on that, okay? Finally, caution, right? As with anything, proceed with caution. And here are a few tips. Educate yourself continually. This is very, very important, okay? I heard someone say very recently that, a 24-hour period in the Bitcoin or alt currencies industry is like a year's time in any other industry. And, and this could be so true, things are changing at such a rapid pace. Thankfully, there are a lot of resources. There are phenomenal videos by several experts in the industry to talk about it. So do educate yourself continually. Do not fall prey to not being well informed, okay? And always use legitimate means of transactions. Okay, go to registered, listed exchanges to buy and sell and trade your currencies, alt currencies. If you do have to buy, from individuals such as through the local bitcoins, which is getting more and more popular, and that's fine. Try to, request and keep an ID of the person you're dealing with. Try to know the person you're dealing with. It's so easy nowadays. Just request for the ID and take a photo on your phone, and it's there. Also, it's a good habit to have a receipt exchange. I purchased so much bitcoins for so much money on this date from so and so, or the other way around. I sold so much bitcoins and took so much cash from so and so on this particular date. Right? It's always a good habit and a good accounting practice to do that as well. Okay, and comply with know your customer and verification requirements. So when you're registering on an exchange, for example, if they ask you for your ID details, be happy, gladly give. Do not worry about that, because this is, in anticipation of future regulatory requirements of know your customer and so on and so forth, right? It's for your own protection. Do that. Now, do not engage in third-party transactions. And I cannot overemphasize the importance of this particular point. Well, a simple example could be when you are in the airport. There's a very clear instruction that no matter what, do not accept to carry the baggage of any other person, however small it might be, right? You're not supposed to, you're not expected to. It could be an illegal activity, right? Now, in a similar manner, when you're engaging in any financial transaction, you are not allowed to take on third-party transactions. Now, let me give you an example. Somebody could come to you and say, for example, could you send just $10 to my friend so and so somewhere, and I'll give you $100. This is just an example, of course. Or it could be the other way around. You know what? A lot of my friends will send you money, just $10, and after that, you could just give me, for example, 60%, and you can keep 40%. Now, these are signs of antisocial, potentially risky, illegal transactions. In the money laundering industry, it is called as layering. Okay. Now, this is how certain antisocial people would try to gain entry and misuse the system, misuse you and me. And this is what regulatory bodies like the central bank are so much concerned about. Okay, so knowingly or unknowingly, the last thing you want to do is to be involved in such transactions, however attractive the deal might be. As a matter of fact, if it is the bigger the attraction, stay away from it. Absolutely, And if there is one point you want to take from this particular video, let this be the one. Okay, never engage in third-party transactions. Do not transfer either outward or inward on anybody else's behalf, unless that's your family member or somebody like that. All right. Now, have clear strategy. Do not let greed lead you. Okay. Beware of too good to be true deals and offers, like I mentioned. Now, here again, I have to go back to the opportunities of things like the MLM and network marketing models. Again, there are there are good opportunities. However, there are also Ponzi schemes which by default emerge, and things like this. Let me give you an example. If you read somewhere, for example, put in $1,000 today, and tomorrow you could be getting $30,000. No, that's not how it works. Please do not fall for such things, even if it is your own brother who says this to you. It doesn't work like that, right? Let's be educated people, responsible people in the society, and do only legal things. That's not how these things work. Indeed, as I said, you might find a legal opportunity, then do consider and go ahead. But if it is too good to be true, it probably is. All right. Now, understand the difference between security of the currency, right, versus safety of your wallet. Now, you're probably hearing that a Bitcoin, for example, cannot be faked. All right. This is because of the numerous stakeholders involved in the creation and verification of each particular transaction. And therefore, it is safe to say that counterfeit or fake will not happen. All right. However, the safety of your wallet also known as, the protection against hacking, etc., is a totally different ballgame, right? So this has happened, it will happen in the future, and it is your role to protect yourself against that as much as possible. So choose your wallet and your storage partner or the hardware device wisely. Okay. The passwords in this is very, very critical because you're talking about virtual currency. Okay, you're talking about digital currency. So you're going to be having to, manage a lot of passwords probably, and you need to be absolutely critical. Okay, keeping them in clear text in your beautiful PC or laptop is also not safe, my friend. So be very careful about it. Okay, be educated on that point. Have good passwords and have a mechanism to remember them properly. Because if you lose your password, you could be losing your money, and that could be, a lot for you. Well, consult subject matter experts. Okay, thankfully there are a lot of people who are really making enormous amount of videos and stuff like that on a regular basis, and they are also offering that you can get in touch with them so that you could, they could help you out. Now, doing a trial and error method in this, especially if you're going to invest anything that is an amount of money that matters to you, it's not worth in this. It might be good to join some groups or forums and take the advice of people who know about this as to how do you start, how do you create your account, how do you open your wallet, how do you do your first transaction, and so on and so forth. And like I said, thankfully people are there who are willing to help you to do that. Personally, where I help is this. You have multiple options. One is that you may want to trade in alt currencies and Bitcoin. You may want to buy and hold for a short term, medium term, long term kind of a strategy, where the money could be, one Bitcoin could cost, could be valued eventually at 100,000 or 500,000 or 1 million, as I said, right? The third option could be, getting into mining. Now, for all of this, you need a decent amount of investment if you really want to make it big, all right? Where I come in and where I like to help people is to invest relatively smaller amount. You're talking about something like $3,600, or it could be even as less as $600, and then eventually to scale up, if you wish to be, to invest in a mining project. Okay, and where the difference comes is this: instead of buying and holding today, if you invest in mining, you have an opportunity to, let your money be invested for equipment, resources in a mining crowd-funded project where you get paid consistently for a long period. And when you get paid literally every day, that money could be going in again and again as a repurchase or a reinvestment into the mining project. Therefore, as you cross 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, and the value of one Bitcoin surges megafold, you would be sitting on a lot more Bitcoins than you would have if you had simply purchased, Bitcoins for $3,600 or even $600, right? But that's how it becomes. I know it's a bit too much to say in this. I'll be happy to clarify all that later. But in effect, it is this. You could come in for a relatively small amount, invest in mining crowd-funded projects, and that's a part of blockchain. And therefore, it's very transparent. You can see, everything, and whatever you earn could be shifted to the blockchain wallet and so on. So it's very, very transparent. I'd be more than happy to help you out on that. And if this is something that sounds interesting to you, then here is my contact details. My name is jgponnou, and I invite you to connect with me by WhatsApp or by Skype. And do put in a note over there, please, when you write. Just don't send a blank connection request. Put in a small note saying that I would love to discuss with you about the Bitcoin investment. I'll be more than happy to get back to you, and we can take it from there, right? I hope I've been able to answer some of the critical questions that you might have had regarding Bitcoin and alt currencies. And with that, my friend, I leave you to think about it, watch the video again if you wish to, and really take action, because that's what really makes all the difference, right? So I hope you'll take action and one day be happy that you did make a decision today. And tomorrow I wish to see you and shake your hands as a very, very wealthy person, my friend. And believe me, today I do strongly and honestly believe that this is one of the only opportunities available for a common man to become a millionaire tomorrow. With that, this is Joseph Ponnou signing off. You take care, my friend. You rock.